100 Amazing Facts Around the World.
Walter and John Huston were the first father and son to win Oscars for the same film in The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Sea otters hold hands when they sleep so they don't drift away from each other. In Greek mythology, they believed redheads turned into vampires when they died. A baby owl is called an owlet. In 1863, Venezuela was the first country to abolish capital punishment for all crimes. Tom Shufflebotham charmed 511 worms out of the ground at a worm charming championship in England in 1980. Not all dead bodies rot. In the right conditions, some of the fat can turn to a soap-like substance so that if the body is dug up, even years later, it can look much the same as when it was buried. At age 32, Sally Ride is the youngest American astronaut in space. The highest fall that a person ever survived without a parachute is 33,330 feet. Wi-Fi doesn't stand for anything. It doesn't mean wireless fidelity or anything else, it is just a branding name. Mike Tyson once offered a zoo attendant $10,000 to let him fight a gorilla. The Sahara is only in a dry period and is expected to be green again in 15,000 years. Hewlett-Packard's name was decided in a coin toss in 1939. The human brain uses 20% of the body's energy even though it's only 2% of the body's total weight. Falling in love produces the same high as taking cocaine. There's a chimpanzee in a Russian zoo named Sura that became addicted to booze and smoking after too many visitors began giving him alcoholic treats and cigarettes. A tribe in West Africa known as the Matamai tribe play a version of football which consists of using a human skull as the ball. The filtration technology used in airplanes is the same technology they use to filter air in hospitals. The Maldive coconut is the largest growing seed in the world. In one night a mole can dig a tunnel 300 feet or 1 kilometer long in soil. The state of Louisiana is getting larger every year because of alluvial deposits from the Mississippi River. The names of the Pokemon Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan are based on Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. The Declaration of Independence was written on paper made from linen rags or flax according to the newest research. The previous information that paper was made from hemp was denounced. The last major battle to take place between Native Americans and the U.S. Army was the Battle of Wounded Knee in 1890. Mercury moves 29 miles per second. That's 107,372 miles per hour. Mechanical refrigeration was invented in America by Dr. John Gorrie in 1851. About 39% of the world's supply of bromine comes from Arkansas. The element is widely used as fire retardant. Over 70% of Americans use at least one prescription medication, while 20% of Americans use 5 or more prescription drugs. Ohio's state flag is the only one of the 50 states which is not rectangular but swallowtail. In 2007, a man by the name of Corey Taylor tried to fake his own death to get out of a phone contract. He failed. Over 1,000 twisters and tornadoes touch down in the USA every year. Amendment prohibited the sale of alcohol. However, it was legalized again in 1933 with the 21st Amendment. In 1961, 2 nuclear bombs were accidentally dropped on North Carolina. One of them was only prevented from detonating by its safety switch. The word planet is Greek for wanderer. Pirates wore earrings because they believed it improved their eyesight. If you could stand on Neptune's surface, the sun would be visible but it would be almost indistinguishable from other stars. Since Pluto lost its status as a planet, it has also lost its name. It's now officially called Planet 134340. The founder of FedEx once saved the company by taking its final $5,000 and gambling it in Las Vegas for a huge profit. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho was the first American film ever to show a flushing toilet. Cleopatra lived closer in time to the moon landing than to the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Spanish national anthem has no words. The biggest cockroach in the world is the Madagascan hissing cockroach. It can grow to 3.5 inches. Venus is the third brightest thing in the sky, after the sun and the moon. Venus is so bright that it can be seen during the day. Urine contains chemicals that we use in cleaning fluids and used to be used for cleaning things. In ancient Babylon, a doctor who accidentally killed a patient had his hands cut off. Long ago, criminals would be hanged in a metal cage called a gibbet, or in chains, near the scene of their crime until their bones rotted to nothing. The wood frog that lives in the Arctic Circle can stay deep frozen for weeks and survive. As cockroaches grow, they develop a new skin inside their old one, eventually splitting the old one. This new skin is white until it hardens in the air and becomes dark. In France, over 40,000 metric tons of snails are consumed every year. U.S. Air Force pilot, Captain Scott O'Grady, was shot down over Bosnia in 1995 and survived for 6 days eating only ants. The average human scalp has 100,000 hair follicles. Octopuses actually have 6 arms and 2 legs. A study done in 2007 by the Bayer College of Medicine determined that magnesium, not calcium, is the key to healthy bones. Phil Collins' song, Sussudio, was based on a completely made-up word. When he couldn't think of actual lyrics to fill the line, he just left it in as the chorus and title. Hitler actually had a pet alligator named Saturn, now aged 85, that Russians were gifted by the British government. 755 Earths could fit into Saturn. Herders in Finland spray reindeers' antlers with a reflective paint so that they won't cause as many traffic accidents. Instead of its gross national product, Bhutan measures its development and prosperity by its gross national happiness. It's been doing this since 1971 and is the only country to do so. Tupac danced ballet in high school and ended up portraying the Mouse King in a production of The Nutcracker. Psychopaths are only capable of perceiving the positive consequences for their actions as opposed to any negative ones. Cameron Diaz and Snoop Dogg both went to school together. Cameron even bought some weed off of Snoop once. Humans have as many hairs per square inch as chimpanzees. Many of our hairs have gotten so fine or are so lightly colored that they are not very visible. The elephant has the longest pregnancy of any mammal, up to 22 months. Manon Rheaume was the first woman to appear in an NHL game. In September 1992, she goaltended for the Tampa Bay Lightning in a preseason game against the St. Louis Blues. There is an ancient book called the Voynich from the Italian Renaissance that no one can read. Helicopters are used in cherry farming to dry cherries after it rains so they don't soak in too much water and explode. A crocodile can't poke its tongue out. The strongest wood grown in America is black ironwood. It can be found in Florida. Life on Earth is possible because our planet has Goldilocks conditions. This means that Earth is in the right position away from the sun so it isn't too hot or too cold. After reproducing, female swordtail fish can grow a sword and turn into a male. Attacking parachutists from an aircraft in distress is a war crime. The Twitter bird actually has a name, Larry. Mars harbors a volcano called Olympus Mons. It is the biggest mountain in the solar system, measuring nearly 16 miles high. That makes it almost 3 times higher than Mount Everest. 2 Nazi soldiers were rescued from a collapsed underground storehouse in 1951 after it collapsed in 1945. Spiders could eat up the entire population of humans in 1 year and still be hungry. Only 1.1% of Jamaicans practice Rastafarianism. When Steven Spielberg re-enrolled at California State 16 years ago, they gave him 3 points credit in paleontology for his work on Jurassic Park. Detroit won a World Series, a Stanley Cup and the NFL championship in 1935. In 2008, a 12-year-old boy in Florida was arrested for excessive farting in school. The state sport of Maryland is justing. Seatbelts became mandatory in cars in the USA on March 1, 1968. Woody Allen's real name is Alan Stewart Konigsberg. Jupiter has countless storms that have been raging for centuries. The most powerful storm is the Great Red Spot. The spot is usually referred to as a hurricane, but it's actually an anticyclone. In 2019, Jennifer Aniston became the fastest person to reach 1 million followers on Instagram in just 5 hours and 16 minutes. Robert De Niro saw the Twin Towers collapse from the window of his New York home. The world's most expensive book ever purchased was bought by Bill Gates for $30.8 million. It was Codex Leicester by Leonardo da Vinci. J.K. Rowling came up with the names for the houses at Hogwarts in Harry Potter while she was on a plane. She jotted the names down on a sick bag. George Washington did not sign the Declaration of Independence. He was already in New York commanding troops when the Declaration was adopted. It can take a photon 40,000 years to travel from the core of the sun to the surface, but only 8 minutes to travel the rest of the way to Earth. It would take 1,200,000 mosquitoes, each sucking once, to completely drain the average human of blood. Basically anything that melts can be made into glass. You just have to cool off a molten material before its molecules have time to realign into what they were before being melted. A small percentage of the static you see on dead TV stations is leftover radiation from the Big Bang. You're seeing residual effects of the universe's creation. Written language was invented independently by the Egyptians, Sumerians, Chinese, and Mayans. Uranus has a ring system like Saturn. The ring isn't horizontal like Saturn's but vertical. The rings were discovered in 1977. If you were to remove all of the empty space from the atoms that make up every human on Earth, the entire world population could fit into an apple. Honey does not spoil. You could feasibly eat 3,000-year-old honey. All humans have lines on our bodies called Blaschko's lines, which can only be seen under certain conditions such as UV light. Doritos can be made without the powder and taste exactly the same, but the company intentionally adds it because they believe it adds to the Doritos experience. If you somehow found a way to extract all of the gold from the bubbling core of our lovely little planet, you would be able to cover all of the land in a layer of gold up to your knees. To know when to mate, a male giraffe will continuously headbutt the female in the bladder until she urinates. The male then tastes the pee, and that helps it determine whether the female is ovulating.
World Top 20.
Thanks for watching.
For more videos, please like the video, comment below, and subscribe to the channel.
We wish you a fruitful day ahead.
And remember, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end.